I just agreed.
Okay, good evening, Richard Phoenix. How are you tonight?
That's fine, thank you, Francine. I'm trying to restore us to my screen here because by recording for whatever reason, let me see here. I lost the video.
Okay,
Are you still seeing me though?
I still see you, boy. You can't see me. I'll stop recording. Hold on.
Uh, Let me try another. There we go. Wait a minute. We're back in business. That's good.
Good?
Yeah. Okay, full screen now. That's good. Much
Okay.
better.
So, Rich, for those who are watching us and don't know who you are the former borough clerk of North Plainfield for how many years?
Uh, just under 30. I came to work in North Plainfield as deputy borough clerk in 93.
And as borough clerk, one of your many hats was to manage our radio station. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay, so that's the reason why I'm doing this video for people who are from North Plainfield and for all the new people who may or may not realize what has happened with regard to our radio station. So we had a radio, or we have a radio station, but what prompted me to do this video is that I noticed that the radio station is missing off of our website. I used to be able to go there, click on the little icon, and then I would hear the news of the day. So have you noticed as well that that is gone?
Yes, they eliminated the stream going to the website.
Okay, so the only other way then to get that information would be through using the radio, is that correct?
That's correct.
And have you checked since you left to see if anything's happening with our radio?
They have left a legal identification on the air on a loop. Okay, it runs continuously. It gives the legal identification of the station by FCC rules and little else. It says if there's an emergency in town, go to the website. And that's kind of limiting because the idea of the radio was to give information out on an emergency basis to anybody with a radio. And one thing about the internet and our cell phones is with an extended power failure, they're out of business. For folks in town that suffered through Sandy, you know that a power failure going a week or better in our house, it was 10 days, no juice.
Me too,
Uh,
10 days, yep.
and with that, no TV, no cable TV, no internet. And of course, the phones are part and parcel of our internet nowadays, and the phones die too. So the one means of getting instant information out there to the audience is the low-powered AM station that we are licensed to operate here in North Plainfield.
What is our call number, if that's what you say? Call.
Okay, the FCC assigned call number is WPQJ 970. Our frequency where you find us on the dial is 1630, which is part of the AM extended band where new stations were added, and we're one of them. This legislation comes from the FCC and is specifically to provide advisory in limited areas for traffic conditions, severe weather, and any emergency that comes down the pike. And we also provide community information that draws groups of people because in its definition, it becomes a matter of where there might be traffic jams or traffic control. We announced details on the 4th of July parade, when it would be held,
Which is
where it would start
gone.
and finish.
Well, it's gone now, so they don't need the
That's
radio
right.
station for that.
We've announced when
Right.
fireworks are being held and where and when and what streets were blocked off for it. And we even announced flu clinics. That was due to a ruling from President Obama. When there was a flu epidemic during his term, he put the information out through the FCC to all stations like ours that we were encouraged to publicize where clinics were being held, the hours that they were held, and the necessity of getting this done. So we broadcast that. It was even recognized the fact that we used the radio by Somerset County itself, which were our source of immunization and the staffing of the clinic.
So, Rich, first of all, for those who are watching this, I hope people do watch us. most people probably have no idea there is a radio station. I have never seen this administration put out anything to anybody to let them know that it even exists. And I guess it came in when you came in. Is that correct?
The station came on the air during my term. Originally, it was run by the Public Works Director, Les Martin. Les retired, and I kind of inherited the thing because I have a broadcasting background. I have an FCC license, which originally was a first-class radio telephone license.
You know what? Stop 1 second, so people know who you are. Your broadcasting background, but obviously we could tell by your voice, you have a wonderful voice, a broadcasting voice, and I miss it when I
Too
call that
kind.
down. Actually, my brain, when I call 769-2900 and you do not, your voice does not come on, I actually go, wait, who did I dial? It takes me a minute to think I dialed the wrong place. So tell the people a little bit about your broadcasting background.
I started doing broadcasting before I was out of high school. I got a preliminary license from the FCC that allowed me to operate educational stations and small commercial stations. And after I graduated college in '68, I went to engineering school and obtained my first class radio telephone license, which was the top FCC license for operating and maintaining radio stations, two-way equipment, anything and everything. It was covered by my license. And I still hold it.
Okay, so you still hold that license and North Plainfield holds the license for 1630, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And what is going to happen? That has to be renewed, correct, regularly?
Right? It renews every 10 years. This type of license is called a traveler's information station and also called a highway advisory radio station. Same thing. They are typically a 10-watt radio station with a practical range of like 5 miles around, or under ideal conditions, you can get a distance of almost 10 miles from, which is all reliant on how much interference is being received from electrical appliances, that sort of thing. But we have a guaranteed radius of 5 miles with this station, which more than covers North Plainfield and surrounding towns. And that was the idea, that when the FCC and FEMA recognized in the early '70s that we are flood prone, and they began handing out the TIS licenses. They said North Plainfield is an excellent candidate because they had flooding and need local information to get out.
We had flooding, we had people die during that flood. That was a
Yes,
horrific,
ma'am.
for those of us who were around, we know how horrific that was. And so FEMA, did they mandate that we have it or they just made it available for us?
They made it available. We applied and got on the air with it.
And next year, our license renewal is up, is that correct?
That's right. 2025 is the anniversary of our renewal, which is every 10 years. And I renewed it for the town 10 years ago as the chief operator.
And so can anybody renew that license or do we need somebody special to renew that license?
It is best if you have an engineer, a licensed professional to sign off on it. And I'd be that guy if I were still there.
Right. And can anybody run it or do you have to be licensed to run it? I mean, you know, can anybody just get on there and start talking or do you need to have somebody who's licensed to do that?
Anybody can get their voice on it. That's the way it's designed because emergencies come and go and you never know when they're going to hit. And if your licensed operator is out of town or whatever, and anybody's voice can go on there and that's fine. That's the way it should be because these stations are operating nationwide on a limited basis with limited coverage, and that's the way the FCC set it up. Some are running unattended, where it's got AI voices on it. This is typical of operations on interstate highways. They have big green signs that tell you to tune to 1630. We have small signs, but we do have signs to tell people to tune 1630. The signs are on the streets in and out of town. And
We have them in
same
North
class of
Plainfield?
station.
We have them in North Plainfield?
Yeah.
Oh my God, where have I been?
They're here and there.
I'm gonna have to go out and look now. I don't remember ever seeing them.
There's
Um,
one near Borough Hall on Somerset Street.
Okay, I'm definitely gonna go looking for them. So if we don't renew, right, we lose our license, what happens if somebody then wants to get one?
If we fail to renew, we could get deleted with this license, and another town that feels they need one could grab it out of our hands, so to speak, because they could apply for that frequency with their own set of paperwork and go on the air.
So it's really important, I think, that we obviously keep our license, but no, more importantly is that, like so many things with this administration, it has gone by the wayside. And I think, unfortunately, that we have people who are running the town who don't understand the importance and the significance of having this radio station. I do. I mean, because I was during Sandy as well.
Oh,
And
yeah.
my emergency kit includes a transistor radio, one of those
Perfect.
old-fashioned transistor radios and
Oh, yeah.
batteries.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's how I knew what was going on. So would you want to tell the people who are watching this who may not know the type of information you were putting out during Sandy to help people?
We put life-saving information out over the air, and consequently, no fatalities during Sandy in North Plainfield. We told people how to operate generators for their homes to avoid inhaling the carbon monoxide that comes out of them. We told people where they could recharge their phones and recharge their laptops. We had several positions in town where they could just plug in and recharge. No fee, of course. We told people how to get MREs that were made available, Army rations. We told people where bottled water was available. We told people to look out at crossings that normally have stoplights because the lights were dark.
Right.
There's no power for the traffic lights. So we told people about intersections that were covered by police on point duty, which was pretty important. You can avoid some really awful accidents if you are prepared to look for a police officer directing traffic. And we had a number of intersections like that here in town, and we told people about it on the radio. And that's just a few items, but it was very helpful. And keep in mind that people did not have the luxury, and it is a luxury, of the internet and possibly had no working phones because the phones were very vulnerable to the power failure. They had no cable TV. And unless a battery operated TV set, which is very rare, they had no over the air TV. And even coverage of over the air radio was limited. It was mostly metropolitan and regional stations that hadn't the time or the volition to give out the detailed information we had on our station and our station only applying to North Plainfield.
I was going to say, even if you could access the mainstream media, that wasn't going to help us here because this is about North Plainfield.
Correct.
So right now, where we have all this construction going on and detours everywhere, it would be great to have the radio when you wake up in the morning to know that you can't go down certain roads. That would have been wonderful. And it's something.
And I used to do that when we had a construction site that was going to disrupt traffic. And by law, that's what these stations, in the written law of the FCC, that's what these stations are for, to notify people about traffic irregularities, traffic jams, any kind of natural disaster that interferes. The last presidential election during Sandy, we advised voters that yes, your regular polling place will work. You don't have to change polling places because our police, fire, and public works cleared the way to all of the polling stations. And even though in some cases, because of the lack of power, they used paper ballots, they still went to the same place to vote,
Okay.
which was really important. And we had this information on the radio as well, that yes, you can vote. It is safe. The police, fire, and public works have cleared away, and there'll be adequate power at the polling place that you can cast your vote. And of course, it'll count.
And you know what? That is important. I mean, it's one of the things that people are talking about every minute. Get out and early vote just in case there is a hurricane or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
So having had that information helped us. Now, Rich, what I'm going to do, or I'm going to try to do, so my audience knows I'm not great at this. There are two up on YouTube. There are two different videos, which are really audios, that give a good example of the types of things that you used to do. So I'm going to play partial part of one of them, because I don't
That's
want to take
fine.
up all our time, but I want the listeners to hear this. So hopefully this will work. Bear with me, everybody.
Okay.
And it did not. It was supposed to be in my windows. So you're going to have to give me a second, I guess.
You can probably edit that in later if you can't access it right now.
It's here. I don't know why it's not. It's supposed to access. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
I have to learn how to do this. I always rely on, here it is. Nope, here it is. Okay.
16:30 a.m. radio serving the Borough of North Plainfield. Residents, remove your vehicles from on-street parking to allow for emergency snow clearance. Use your driveway or neighbor's drive with their permission for parking. Do not shovel snow into the street. If you encounter a downed wire, treat it as if it's live and avoid it. Call 911 or North Plainfield Police non-emergency at 908-769-2937 to report downed wires. 16:30 a.m. radio, WPQJ 970, operated by the North Plainfield Office of Emergency Management, reminds all to buckle up and drive with care. For latest details of borough events, please go to www.northplainfield.org, and thank you for making 16:30 a.m. radio a part of your North Plainfield day. National Weather Service forecast for the North Plainfield region. Sunny this morning, then becoming partly sunny. High to low 50. South winds 5 to 10. Tonight, mostly cloudy. Showers likely at midnight. Low in the upper 30s. South winds 5 to 10. Chance of rain 70%. Tuesday, cloudy.
Okay. Hold on. Let me see if I can get us back.
That's a good example of the sort of announcement we ran during a blizzard, because you're dealing with the bad road conditions and the functions of town continue, and
Right.
people need to be informed of what's up.
There's actually a better one, Rich, and I thought I had pulled up the better one. It talks about Santa coming and stuff like
That's
that.
right.
But
You
that
see-
gets, I will put those links when I post this, so people who might want to listen. Now, you know, I'm running for mayor, and
Yes, ma'am.
you know, part of the reason why I'm running for mayor has to do with this type of thing. I feel like the residents in North Plainfield are constantly being shortchanged. You know, living here the majority of my life, I see the difference between what we had and what we don't have anymore. That's why I know about this. I see this and it bothers me. There are people, like I said, we have a lot of new people in town. They don't understand the importance or how we relied on this and what we look forward to. And that's why I wanted to talk about it, so people understand the things that have been taken away from us. So when you were let go, which obviously we're not going to discuss here, for reasons we understand, but we also lost the use of our radio. And I would think or hope that the people who run this administration would have made sure before they did that, that they had a plan. And it seems like there is never a plan. You know, there's just, they take away from us. They take away the 9/11 service. They take away the parade. They, you know, 4th of July parade. They rename the 4th of July fireworks to suit somebody else's needs. Recreation baseball is taken away. So more and more every day, we pay higher taxes, right? And we get less for our buck. And also, it's the kind of thing that makes people want to come into your town, right? That you know your government cares about you. Your government is going to do things for your benefit, for your safety. And I don't see that happening. And so I personally would like to see the radio returned. I want to see it back up on the website. I want to see it functioning and doing what it's supposed to do. And I think you were telling me the other day about, it was a FEMA PEP.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And maybe you want to explain that a little bit too for our audience?
FEMA PEP is a point of entry program that FEMA have put together nationwide. It is the modern version of antiques like me that remember Conelrad, the triangles on the radio dial. The old Conelrad system was there to inform us in the event of a national disaster, probably nuclear attack by whomever. And they developed Conelrad as a radio, strictly AM radio facility that would open up two frequencies on the radio dial, which were 640 and 1240. And if there was a disaster, it could have been a meteorological disaster too. You could tune to 640 or 1240 on your AM radio and get advisories from Washington. The two key stations involved in Conelrad here, one was then WNBC on 660, which would shift down to 640. And the one on 1240, well, actually, we had a choice of two that had crystals in a transmitter that could shift their frequencies off theirs to 1240. One was WMTR in Morristown, which is 1250. And the other was WCTC in New Brunswick that had a spare 1240 crystal to shift the transmitter to the emergency frequency. And this was all federal information about fallout shelters, where to be able to eat, the whole possibility of anything happening. And this was all about the duck and cover kind of thing. It was that era. And we didn't really know what was coming. But this was something that the federal government developed. And at the time, it left out TV because at that point, not everybody had a TV set.
Right.
And also, again, power failures with electromagnetic pulse, which happens from nuclear weapons. Forget about TV. There was no internet yet, but the AM radio, by its very nature, would work because AM radio does travel with the curvature of the earth. FM is line of sight transmission, which means if you can see the horizon, that's as far as FM is going to go. If you drive with an FM radio in your car, you know that if you're listening, say, to WCBS FM on 101.1, if you travel far enough west, their signal's taken over by a station in Philadelphia. That's
Right.
also on 101.5,
Yep.
101.1, I'm sorry. So FM is fragile. That's the best way to describe it. It's a high quality means of sending off music on the radio. That's all well and good, but it is limited. That's the key thing. But AM is flexible. When on a clear night, you can hear stations from Cleveland, Boston, Charlotte, North Carolina. And it's stations like these that will be part of the FEMA PEP system. They are outfitting these stations with bunkers so they can operate during a month-long emergency. People can eat, sleep, whatever, in the bunkers for these stations. They've completed the bunker in Boston for WBZ. They're working on the bunker in Lodi, New Jersey for WABC, where their transmitter is located.
Right.
And it's all part of the FEMA program, which when you sum it up, it's billions of dollars worth of a program.
Right. So what we need people to understand, and I know this is going to be difficult for them to understand because everybody uses this, right? Their
Yep.
phone.
Oh, yeah.
And let me tell you, the only thing that saved me during Sandy is I had a hardwired phone. And that was the only way I could get out and let people know that I was okay because the trees were down and I couldn't travel. And, relatives came with their bigger vehicles to bring me stuff. So, I kept that for many years until the phone company absolutely took it away, which was a shame.
Yeah.
So people listening to this are going to go, who cares about radio? You need to care about radio. This is what we're trying to tell them, that this radio stations are important, and New York radio station is not going to be as important to us as the North Plainfield radio station in the case of an emergency. And also for every day. I mean, Somerset Street was shut down for filming, right? Right now we have the overpass that's been shut down. Not everybody knows that. We had flooding for Irene and Ida. These are things that this radio station can and should be used for. We're going to be having something for Veterans Day. North Plainfield isn't because they don't do anything, but the veterans come into North Plainfield on November 11th at 11 o'clock over in Memorial Park and do a little service. So these are things that residents of North Plainfield need to know about. It makes them part of the town and it provides them with safety information. And I am going to advocate, whether I win or not, that this radio station gets up and running, and that we, notify people about it, and let them know that this is there. It's something they should maybe practice using, so they know how to use it. People don't know how to use radios anymore. And actually, if they go on to the AM radio, they might find there's an awful lot of fun things on there. I like AM radio. I think there's a lot of interesting things.
There's a lot of talk, all
Yep,
kinds of talk on
a lot
AM.
of good talk radio.
And,
So,
and not necessarily only politics. There's a lot going on there.
oh no, not only, it doesn't always have to be about although everything in life is political, but it doesn't always have to be about politics. And really, I'm doing this because I'm running for mayor, but I'd probably be doing this anyway, just as a resident, because even when I'm not running for the past 4 years, I've been trying to be active. I've been active my whole life in North Plainfield. When I see something wrong, I say something, see something, say something. So whether or not I was running, I would be addressing this issue. And I knew you were the person I had to go to. So unless there's anything else you want to add, Rich, I want to wrap this up. Any other information that we need people to know and understand about the radio and not having it in use?
Tell folks to have fresh batteries in their transistor radios. Also, there are Red Cross radios out there now that will pick up 1630, the whole AM and FM band, and some have weather band capabilities. And these things, they have cranks on them, so you don't necessarily need a fresh battery.
Oh, where do
And
you
in
get
a
them
real
from?
emergency, they're worthwhile.
Where do you get them from? The Red Cross? I've never heard of that before.
You can go to the Red Cross website. They'll tell you where they're available.
You know what, Rich? I'm going to put that up when I do this. So let me just make a little note
Yeah,
about.
they're in lots of catalogs, the crank radios they call them.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a whole range of them that are embossed with Red Cross, and they're able to pick up 1630, the entire AM band, the FM band, and some also have the weather band with the weather stations that we used to relay on our 1630. We used to relay the New York weather station.
I heard that you were citing
and
that.
I had to fill in for it because they lost their lease on the New York weather station. So I would pull the weather off the web and rewrite it for North Plainfield with our local considerations. We're in a microclimate here, where we're situated in the Watchung Mountains. So I would rewrite the weather and change it twice daily because the weather kept changing. And so I did substitute weather for NOAA.
Well, and the other thing is, if people say, well, you could go to website for the information. First of all, you'd have to search the website for all the different information. I'll be the first one to tell you, I think we have one of the worst websites trying to get information. A lot of things are not up there. They're not up there in a timely fashion. We have a calendar that you would think would be filled in with things that should happen every year automatically. So relying on the website, even when things are working correctly, isn't all that good. There are a lot of people who really don't have computers, don't know how
This is
to use
true.
computers, and don't want to. Quite frankly, when I'm not working anymore, I'm going to barely ever use a computer. I mean, I'm just over it. It was exciting and fun, and now it's like in every aspect of our life. And when they tell me, when I call up somebody, go, well, you could go on the computer, I have a fit. And I'm like, no, I'm done with the computer. I spend my whole life on the computer. So let's try to, hopefully what we're doing here, we'll do a couple of things, Rich. One is it'll bring attention to our residents that there are these things that exist. And two, maybe our government, our local government will listen to this and wake up. And if I don't become the mayor, maybe we can get them to put that radio back together and use it in a proper fashion for the benefit of all of us, because you're a taxpayer, I'm a taxpayer, we love our town, and we want to, we wish it well, and we want to get the maximum benefits that we can out of living here. We saw what just happened in the South, and it could happen here, and we need to have that type of information available. you know,
They
otherwise,
really needed AM radio in the South, and there are a number of local stations that really filled in for them and saved lives like we did with our own 1630.
right. Well, we're gonna do it again, Rich, one way or the other, however we have to do it. And I want to thank you for taking your time out. I know you know, you're no longer employed by the town, but I know you love this town like I do. And
Yes,
I
ma'am.
appreciate you doing this for all of us. Okay.
Francine, it's been a pleasure, and good luck with the campaign.
Well, thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
And you too. Thank you.
All right. Have a good night, Rich. I'm going to try to end this recording without, well, I think I have to end the meeting first. So have a good night.
Good night now.